Probably not going to come as a surprise to you that America's kids are continuing to suffer, and their scores in standardized testing are reflecting that. Coming out of the pandemic, I don't think most people expected that things would go well, but math scores have fallen in nearly every state. Reading scores have dipped in many states as well, and this is across many demographic groups, not evenly, of course, but I want to give you some of the results. This is, by the way, based on a sampling of nearly 500,000 fourth and eighth graders in more than 10,000 different schools across the country. In math, the results of these scores were especially devastating. You can see in this little graph that only 36% of fourth graders were considered proficient in math. That was actually 26 in eighth grade, so they actually fall behind as they get through elementary school. That was down 8 points from just 3 years ago. In reading, the proficiency scores have also dropped. Only 1 in 3 proficient at fourth grade, slightly less in eighth grade. And you can see losing ground over time, losing ground as they advance through school. Reading scores declined in more than half states. So not as bad as math, but still not good. And by the way, the trend of test scores and proficiency ratings going down had already been established long before the pandemic. It was just exacerbated by the difficulty of not being able to be in school. And look, it's affecting all students, but as I said, not evenly. Black and Hispanic students who are already behind white and Asian peers prior to this period have experienced even sharper declines, particularly in math tested at the fourth grade level. Access to things like computers also tracked by this. Obviously there's inequity there too. And the issue is that we have maybe more of a national focus on what's going on in our schools than we've had in my lifetime. More parents fired up to take part in school board meetings and all that. They are really invested in all the wrong areas. Test scores are going down, but is that what parents are freaking out about? No, what they're freaking out about is the possibility that there might be a box of kitty litter in the bathroom. They're not worried about the lack of computers, they're worried about the presence of kitty litter. And they're worried about what their teachers are telling them about their own identity rather than about geography or history or anything like that. It's such a lost opportunity. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, that one statistic that was just in that quote you read that said sharper declines, or like Black and Hispanic students experience sharper declines than those groups in fourth grade math. My niece is a Black and Hispanic student in fourth grade math and science and all of those other things. And like she's really smart relatively, and she's in a decent like middle class environment, and so like she's been able to get like more resources than the average person. But her brother, who is younger, I've seen has just been struggling throughout the pandemic because he was at such a young age where missing out on that social interaction, missing out on a lot of that learning and education. Like you're really seeing it in a lot of people and a lot of folks this generation. The only thing is like the devastating point you just had there that's totally true is more people are paying attention to schools. It's not about how schools are funded. It's about how what critical race theory is or isn't being taught in schools. It's not being taught in elementary schools or middle schools or high schools even. All these fake moral panics and fake, LGBTQ plus people are coming for your children, which is entirely not the case. Those are the stuff we're focusing on, and it's taking away from these actual issues. But the only thing there is that I'm not really surprised that these are the issues that they're focusing on, because all of these issues of marginalized students from marginalized communities performing worse. These are happening before COVID. Everything that was happening before COVID was happening before COVID. It just got exacerbated by it. When it comes to inequality, when it comes to people not having access to things they should be having, that was the status quo beforehand. It's just a little bit worse now, substantially worse than it would have been otherwise without the pandemic. People just kind of don't care because they didn't care before. And that's kind of what we always need to fight against.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're going through school libraries to find which books they can take out. Like that's what they're doing. Our kids can't read, and they're trying to stop them from having access to books. It's insane. I've always felt a little bit weird about homeschooling because of the weird ideological thing. But I feel like you have to, like that has to become a thing. And obviously think about like, how are you gonna do that when you have to have 3 jobs? Like, or both parents, assuming it's a 2-parent household, have to be working constantly. Like, if you have to start to supplement education more and more with stuff by the parents, not all parents are gonna be able to do that. Not all parents are gonna be able to afford tutors and study aids and all this stuff. Like, it's setting up a really sick system. And the thing is, like, we might look at this and think that this is like, forget the consequences of this. This is bad on its own, like on its face, it's bad. We want kids to be able to read and do math and care about education and all that. But not everyone shares those values. Like why would a right winger, why would a business owner look at this and think this is a bad thing for the future of America? Why wouldn't they want dumb, incurious kids who can't think critically and just accept whatever they're told and have no ability to look at a conspiracy theory and have any idea whether it's reliable or not? Why wouldn't they want kids who are just going to like easily slot into jobs that are gonna grind them down over the course of their life? I am really worried about what the next couple generations are gonna be like. And not that they have to be like, but that we're going to limit their potential in so many different ways. We have access to so much information. And how are they gonna have the tools to actually process any of it?
I mean,
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
I know nobody's gonna watch this video, by the way, but this really worries me.
But like, last thought is that there is a lot of great information out there. It's just that we're not even teaching kids how to process good versus bad information. And so that's what I really worry about in the future.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.